All right, we're here with my boy Oba. We kind of got in touch with his whole Headstart community, and now he is the president or prime minister of Romania, apparently. Uh, it's been a wild journey through some of these text messages, but Oba, tell the people a little bit about like who you are and like how you even got here to the other side of the world.
Yeah, happy to give some quick background. So I spent the early half of my childhood in Nigeria, latter half in Houston, and went to UT Austin, studied finance there. I was pretty much on the traditional finance path. Moved to New York after graduating last May of 24. Worked in private equity for about a year. It was a good run, but I knew I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial. Wasn't sure what that was going to be. Initially, me and some friends were working on some things in AI, as is everyone nowadays. And more recently, I've just been traveling. I think that's, one of the best parts of unemployment is you can kind of roam around. And yeah, I found myself in Eastern Europe. Initially, I was in Hungary for about 3 weeks, and it went pretty well. I got pretty famous there as the Hungarian Fortnite guy. So I would get stopped probably every day, and people would be like, "Are you the Hungarian Fortnite guy?" And basically, the joke there is in Hungary, the currency is called forint or something like that. And I remember the first time I saw it, it just read like Fortnite to me, so I just stuck to it. And then here in Romania, I've been running a similar playbook. So here we have the Romanian Robox. So that's the currency here, at least for me. And there's a little history and beef with Hungary and Romania in the past. So all my TikToks, I was saying what the Hungarians told me, and one of the lead senators, he reaches out to me and he's like, "Hey, like we saw your TikToks. I want to show you the real Romania. You should come to the Parliament building. We'll come get you." Da, 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 da. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it read like a scam, but I responded. I got in touch with like his assistant, and it ended up being great. Got like a personalized tour of the whole Parliament building. Got to eat in the Parliament building. Had like a good 30-minute conversation with one of the lead senators of Romania. They led me into like the Senate room where like apparently no one goes there except like the actual politicians. So yeah, I've been out here in Romania causing havoc.
I love it, man. I've been paying attention a little bit to your TikToks, and it's just like rage bait, but great rage bait from both an American perspective and like international perspective. It's hilarious. How did you get here? Because again, I remember when we were talking. I think when you came to UT Austin just to go visit, you're like, "Yeah, I'm applying to YC, yada yada yada." And then randomly, I think you hit me up or I hit you up, and you're like, "Yo, I'm traveling the world." And I was like, "What happened between like this 2 or 3 month span that we went from okay, I'm building this AI startup to okay, I'm going on this Tim Ferriss journey, basically."
No, it's a good question. I think we worked on the startup idea probably since December of last year until roughly, let's say, like Mayish. And I think the big issue was like we were trying to brute force a startup. I think everybody wants to build a startup, but it's easier to build something when like the problem comes naturally, the team comes naturally. So it's like me and some friends were like, all right, we're gonna build a startup, and we were like, all right, what are we gonna do? We're like, I don't know, we're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna do it. So I think I realized pretty quickly that brute forcing a startup is probably not the right approach. And I started going to Mexico City a bunch just because it's like close to Houston, but better weather, better food, cheaper, basically everything that I needed. And while I was in Mexico City, I was like, why don't we, kind of continue the adventures? Then I got invited to a Robinhood product demo in Nice, France. And that was when they announced like the tokenized stocks and all that stuff. So that was a pretty cool event. And I'm like, all right, if I'm in Europe, I'm not going back. I need to just hang out. And yeah, that was what over a month ago that happened. The event happened. And then one of my friends is actually getting married in India in August. So I'm like, perfect. I stay in Europe until the wedding, cause havoc, make content, and then I mean, India sounds like a great place to make content too. So then you go to India for the wedding and make some content there too. So that's kind of been the journey.
I love that. How do you go about your content strategy? Because I notice you also post a lot about career content on
Yeah.
like LinkedIn, TikTok, newsletter, and balancing out like travel content. And now that you quit your job, do you ever think about how you want to like go about your content after that? and like feeling you're like less relatable to like job seekers and stuff. And you ran a whole fellowship for college students like trying to get into career, and then now you're traveling the world. I literally went through like the same exact very similar journey for design buddies too.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think a lot of what I learned is still like very much relevant to like getting your first job, getting your first internship. But I do think that if I go down this path, like I probably can help you get promoted because I haven't experienced that firsthand. So I do think like on the professional side, I still think I have like some expertise. But I think the way I see that evolving over time too is just to more like personal finance stuff. So like that's something I'm super passionate about already. And it's one of those things like if you get your first job, like what happens next? There's like workplace dynamics, but there's also like, okay, now you have money. What do you do with it? So I think that's kind of how I see that side of things graduating. And it's just like things I love talking about. Like I love talking about the job stuff, which is the whole point of the Headstart Fellowship, which you mentioned. Then the other side, the travel stuff was just random. So basically, the way it really started was I was in Mexico, like I was saying, and TikTok focuses a lot on like where you are in order to like push your videos. So I was still making career videos in Mexico and no one was watching them. And like I just didn't understand why. And then I dug a little bit into like the stats and stuff. And I'm like, oh, like 80% of these viewers are in Mexico. And I was like, it's not in Spanish and it's like just not for them. So I'm like, all right, let me experiment just like making stuff that's like for them. So yeah, then I started just roaming around the streets, just saying random stuff, eating food, doing whatever. And that started getting like thousands of views, tens of thousands of views, eventually hundreds of thousands of views. And I'm like, okay. So if I'm traveling, like I need to make stuff for the locals at least for TikTok if I want like my TikTok account to at least work. And then once I get back to America, I can like slowly teach the algorithm. They're like, okay, I'm back in America. I want to make the education stuff again. So it was honestly more of like a mistake than on purpose. It was just like I fell into it. And then now I'm realizing that travel content just has a lot of perks. So like in Budapest, I was there for like 3 weeks, and I think the last 2.5 weeks, I didn't pay for food one time. So like you have restaurants like hitting you up. You just walk into a restaurant, like sometimes they recognize you. They're like, "Oh, you're the Hungarian Fortnite guy." Like, yeah, yeah, we got you. Like, so that has been like a pretty nice part of it. Like in Romania, I haven't been here that long, so I've been here a couple days, and like even like I said, the senator guy hit me up. And there's like a few restaurants and stuff that hit me up. Some guy, he owns like a hotel in the Black Sea, which is like north of Romania. He's telling me like they got some dates available in August, and I'm like I just got here, so it's like if you can get attention, you can basically like it's like in life you have your revenue and you have your expenses. Like you guys said in the other episode, it's hard to get revenue from like consumer goods and restaurants, but it's very easy to cut your expenses. So now I'm realizing like they can pay for my life. They can pay for my food, which is like half of the burn. And then if they can pay for my hotel and stuff, it's like, whoa, I can actually just live kind of for free. And then everything else I make is, kind of profit.
That's insane. That like, go ahead, Grace.
Oh no, I'm saying that's beautiful. I'm just so curious. I love your rage bait content. How do you come up with rage bait ideas, and what kind of content that has done well to get their attention?
Nah, it's hilarious. It's a good question because honestly, I'm not like I don't watch content, which is like something I think is very different from most creators. Like I don't watch TikTok. I didn't have TikTok until the day I posted my first TikTok. So like I wasn't really a good big consumer of content. But for me, it's just like natural. Like I don't know. I feel like for me, I just like I'm a troll at heart. So it's just me being myself, which is part of it. But I do think over time you build like pattern recognition. So like for example, one format that works really well for me is I go to a grocery store and just buy stuff. And then I say like what some dollar amount gets you in Hungary or in Romania. Like people always love it because like I'll be like, oh, everything is so cheap. And they're like, no, it's not because you guys are American and you make so much money. Or they're like, oh, you're so dumb. Like, why'd you buy that one? That one is fake. You should have bought this one. Like there's always like the grocery store is just it's an experience that everybody knows because like if you live somewhere, you've been to the store, so you know what you're supposed to buy and you know what you're not supposed to buy. And like I'll say stuff wrong, not even on purpose, right? It's like, oh, I bought this thing, I thought it was butter. It turns out it's like actually the oil stuff, like the margarine or whatever they call it. And it's like to me, it said the word butter on it, but I can't read the local language, so I had no idea what I bought. So yeah, people always flame me. They're like, "Oh, you went to the wrong store. This store is so expensive. You're supposed to go to Lidl." So that's like one format. Another format is like find a popular name and then say like, why is everybody in this place called X, Y, and Z name? So like I had one in Romania. I had one in Romania. I posted it yesterday. I think it has like 150,000 views. It's like the name Iwana is very popular here. So like I was like, why is everyone in Romania named Iwana? Like I keep walking around meeting people and they say they're all Iwana. Like, do you have to name your child Iwana? Just like just do that. And I did another one and the one I did in Hungary went crazy. I think it has like 500,000 views, but it was Jofi, so it's like Z Sophie basically, and they have a letter in their alphabet that's like ZS. It's pronounced like J. But like I'm like, why is everyone in Hungary named Z Sophie? Like, why does everyone have the same name here? Z Sophie. Everyone I meet is Z Sophie. Like, how many Z Sophies are there? And then like they think because like there's a lot of rage in there, right? It's like I'm saying it wrong on purpose. I'm like probably spelling it wrong on purpose. And like even in the video, I'll say it wrong in different ways. They're like, how can you say it wrong, but wrong in three different ways in a 1 minute video? So that's like another format that does really well. Then I guess the last thing is just like putting yourself in a position to be a fish out of water. So like for example, here I went to a football match and like I was definitely the only black person at the football match, probably the only like non-Romanian, and there was like at least like 20,000 people. So it's like just go to the football match and do anything, and then like the football team I comment because they're like, whoa, wait, what? Even I made the news. I forgot to tell you, you guys. So I didn't make the number one news here, but I made the number two news. I'll send it to you guys right now. But basically, they're like American went to the Dynamo football game. So yeah, like you can make the news just by being a fish out of water. So yeah, I make the news out here.
No, that's insane. I mean, I think you are fully embodying the sort of ignorant American stereotype outside, right? The US, which I think works with the content. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you're doing it. I
Yeah,
mean, you might be doing it to rage bait a little bit. Like you said, you're kind of a troll, but like I
yeah.
think that trolling mentality is very similar to what a lot of people think the ignorant American mindset is, which is why I think it does well on social. Um,
No, 100%. I think it's like, yeah, you give them what they want to hear. It's like, oh yeah, he's an American. Of course he doesn't eat vegetables. Or of course he thinks like a tomato is a vegetable, not a fruit or whatever. Like, yeah, you
yeah,
just give it
which
to
I
them.
think is also funny because like you're like an immigrant American. You're not like American, quote unquote American American, right? As most people would say.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hilarious if you went to Vietnam and just been like, why is everyone named Nguyen here? Because right, because everyone has the same last name. Or like you go to Korea,
Yo.
right? Why is everyone named Sun or Kim or whatever, right? Like I think there's a lot of like you could
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
run that
yeah.
same content funnel,
That
right?
same
Just
format,
anywhere.
exactly.
Or even if you go back to the U.S., right? Why is everyone's last name Johnson or whatever, maybe, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's hilarious. I want to take a step back to when you're talking about money, the difference between like revenue and expenses, cutting expenses, right? Because I think that's a unique perspective that a lot of people don't realize, especially when they're just in the US, right? Because everything in the US is high, whether it's expenses, you need higher revenue to pay for those expenses. Um, are you making or how are you making money right now? Is any of that coming from, let's just call it the lifestyle content, or from the lifestyle content, is that just covering or like making your expenses free right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I would say for the most part, it is just about making covering expenses. But I have been a little bit creative in monetizing. It's like whenever a restaurant reaches out to me, like I'll always ask like if they're willing to pay or if they have like budget for this. And like most times they don't want to, but most times as they're reaching out to you, like you have like, at least a little bit of leverage. So it won't be anything crazy, but it might be like, 25 US equivalent plus a meal or whatever it might be. So that's like one way. So I've done that a couple of times, but like nothing crazy. I probably made like $100 max doing that. And then the other side of it too has been just random stuff. So for example, in Hungary, I had a Hungarian Fortnite meetup. So I was at a restaurant that I had a sort of collab with before. So I actually made t-shirts. I can actually get the t-shirts in a second, but I made Hungarian Fortnite t-shirts. Hopefully I don't get sued by Epic Games, but we only sold like 10 t-shirts though. So if they sue me, they can have like, $50. But basically I became the Hungarian Fortnite guy. I was like, all right, let's see if people are actually going to show up. So I made a couple of videos, went on live on TikTok a few times. I'm like, yep, Hungarian Fortnite meetup. We're gonna have exclusive Hungarian Fortnite merch. You can get the Hungarian Fortnite combo at the restaurant. Da 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 da. And that was cool. So I did like a revenue share with the restaurant. So anybody that came like within those hours, and they were like random hours where like typically it's empty. I got like 20% of revenue, which again in like Hungary, it's just like the dollar equivalent is not that much, but I think it was maybe like 60 US equivalent for like a couple of hours. And then on the merge, I think I probably spent like 300 US equivalent on merch. I didn't sell all of it, which is the problem, but I probably made like 380 US equivalent on merch. So like I bought it for 300, sold like 380 bucks worth, it's like 80 bucks netted. So again, nothing crazy. So in short, right now for the most part, travel is like subsidizing my life, but I'm not making much income, if any, from this stuff yet. But I did also get into the TikTok creator or whatever. So I think once you hit 10K, they put you in the thing where you actually make money. But then the next problem is that the most important thing in the formula for how much money you make is where are the people watching your videos based. So like if it's America, Australia, Canada, whatever, you make actual money that like might feel good. But here I've probably been averaging like 10 to 20 US dollars a day, which isn't like terrible, but it's like, it's just not gonna really pay the bills. But the other side of it is like rent here is like 20 to 30 US dollars a day. So it's like it actually does cover a little bit of the rent and day-to-day
Yeah, I was
costs.
gonna ask like what. So I guess what is your? Because I know you're in the personal finance, so I would assume you're probably tracking some of
Yeah.
this. But like, how much are you spending on rent? Let's just call it that over there and food versus what that would cost in the U.S. Because I wonder if like the amount of income that you're making,
Yeah.
yes, it's less than obviously what you would need to survive in L.A., New York, wherever, even Houston. But I wonder what the comparable is to where you're at in Romania right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I'm not in like the city center, but I'm like a 10-minute walk from the city center. So I guess the outskirts of the city center. And I think rent, and this was only like a 1 week stay, so I didn't get like all the discounts and stuff, but I think it's literally like $22 a day. Um, and in Hungary, I was in the city center in Budapest, and that was like 30, 35 bucks a day. So yeah, it is definitely night and day. Like I remember looking this up. The average Hungarian makes like 10,000 US a year. So it is like pretty nice income compared to like what the average local is probably making. And then from a food standpoint, like in Hungary, I was literally spending like $0 on food. Like it was wild. Like yeah, I didn't really spend money on food. But like a normal meal is probably 5 to 10 bucks, and then here similarly like 4 to 10 bucks in Romania. So yeah, definitely like night and day. Like I think if you make 25,000 US a year, like you could live like a king or queen and like very very happily like in the city center, do whatever you want, have the nice gym membership, whatever it might be.
Wow, that's awesome. Oh, by the way, I think Singapore will be a great country to rage bait in. It's like a lot more expensive. It's almost as expensive as Americans, but as a Singaporean, well, I'm from America, but my family's from Singapore.
Yeah,
They're really like rules oriented, and they'll call you out if you get anything wrong. If you spell something out, they'll call you out. So Singapore is a great place to rage bait. But I'm also curious, like, do you plan to stay in Europe, or do you ever want to go back to like making career content or forever rage bait content? For, like, travel, like, American in the American
yeah,
outside of America content.
yeah. No, it's a good question. I think on TikTok, that's like what's been working for me. But on Instagram, I've still been posting a career video, like at least like 5 times a week. So I think I made the account 3 months ago and I have like 19,000 followers. So it's been like ramping pretty quickly on Instagram. And then I'm trying to use that to like build out the newsletter, which is like I kind of use LinkedIn as like lead gen for the newsletter. So I think the newsletter now has roughly 7,000 readers. Um, so I'm still doing the career stuff, just not on TikTok. I think the career stuff is just like easier to actually make money because I've like built a network of people in this space and like I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm like known, but people like I have a little bit of respect, I guess, in this audience. Um, and I honestly I enjoy it. Like it doesn't feel like work to me. So yeah, like every day I'll just think about like some random concept. Like right now I'm doing a series on like building a stock pitch from scratch and just kind of showing like the whole journey. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever retire from the career content, but I am enjoying the rage bait content. And then as far as geography goes, so my friend's wedding is in India in August. So I will be in India, but India banned TikTok. So that's gonna be an interesting limbo because I guess I'll just be posting on like Instagram and Facebook. Oh, also I'm on Facebook, so I approached like 500,000 views on Facebook in the last month. So my Facebook took off in Hungary. So like the moms and stuff, they're out there laughing at me, and it's the same comments. It's like, yeah, of course it's the American, but I think Facebook's gonna be interesting from a monetization standpoint too, because I don't think a lot of people post like the Facebook shorts. So I'm interested to see how that goes, but it's still small. I think I have like 497 followers. So I'll see like how that goes over the coming weeks. But yeah, in short, after India, I do want to go to Asia, but I'm still trying to decide because it's also monsoon season. So I think we're thinking through either going to what's the North Vietnam town called?
Hanoi.
The main one
Hanoi?
with the train. Yeah, Hanoi. You're either
Mhm.
going to Hanoi and or Bali. And maybe is this I think it's the Malaysia city, KL. I don't know how to say it. Kuala Lumpur. Yeah, they're gonna get so pissed if I said that, but yeah, I don't know how to say it, but KL.
KL. Oh no, I mean, okay, so I guess my question is, again, this whole podcast is around how creators make money. You've obviously got a great business mind on you with everything that you've built with Headstart and then with the career monetization side of things. Is there a path to monetization that you see for Oba as a lifestyle creator? And if so, have you thought about that at all?
No, it's a good question. So one of my friends, she went to UT as well. She didn't ever do the whole corporate thing, and she just always did content. And she's been interesting to just watch from afar to see how she's gone about it. So she's been doing these like group trips. So I think that's like a thing that basically every travel creator does now is like you go somewhere where you have like an inn or you know someone that's well connected, and then you get a very nice experience for people. So like for example in Romania now, like I wouldn't be surprised if 3 months from now I can do a group trip because like I'm knowing the head senator, I'm knowing a guy with the hotel at the Black Sea. You see what I'm saying? And like it just can all kind of come together. So that's like one potential angle. I think two is like brands value the fish out of water because like if you're scrolling on a TikTok and you're Romanian, you're more likely to stop when you see a black person because it's like, what is this person doing here? Like it's just you just don't see that often. So like there's actually a guy that's in Romania. I haven't met him yet, but he's an American guy, he's black. And he's been partnering with like a lot of the big restaurants, like Romanian Popeyes, for example. And like you already know the meme there. They're gonna be like, oh, black people love chicken, but that's like great engagement, right? So it's like he's been going very, very crazy on like the big brand deals. So I think there's like a power law of like when you're at 10K followers or whatever, it's like, I don't know. I don't think I'm worth Popeye's time because they just can't spend enough money. They can't get enough reach. But I've gotten like I'm averaging between 1 to 2K net new followers a week. So it's like if I do this for another like 6 months, like I think I can be at that point where like a Popeyes or whatever it might be, like they see my content and they're like, okay, like we get it, like we see the memes and we see the meme potential here, like let's get some eyeballs. So I think it's something. It's like you can do small time things like group trips where you'll probably make like a 10-20% margin, nothing crazy. But when you want like real dollars, like you need to get big. Like you probably need at least like 50,000 followers.
That's awesome. I kind of like am inspired to keep making fish out of water content because I can also be an ignorant American. But I think Singapore is a great place to like rage bait or just like yeah, that's exciting. I'm also curious, like how do you currently make money from your other side? Like I saw Headstarter, it's free. And then do you make money from like sponsorships? Is it from like how is the monetization side on your like career related content?
Yeah, for sure. So Headstart Fellowship. So there's like this other thing called Headstarter. So we're not associated with Headstarter, but Headstart Fellowship is free. It's a nonprofit. So the goal there is to help the students and not make money. But on the Headstart side, the way Headstart makes money is we see ourselves as like selling a product. And that product is you could either hire a recruiter for let's say $70,000, or you could work with Headstart for a fraction of that, and we will get you access to some of the top diverse talent across a wide range of schools that you initially wouldn't have reached. That's kind of how we think about our product. So we have corporate partners, and their kind of goal is to hire talent. I think now, especially as the political climate changes, you probably change the narrative a little bit, but just top talent across a wide range of schools. So that's kind of how we make money there. And then yeah, for the students it's free. And then as you guys know, I'm surprised by how much running anything costs. So Slack costs money, G Suite costs money. Like the money just goes. So there's a lot of things that cost money. So that's that side of things. And then as far as my career content goes, honestly, I'm doing it, kind of for the love of the game for now, but I do get a lot of like inbound now. So I've been charging like roughly 150-ish for like stories. I think also finance is a very unique vertical because the overlap of finance people and content people is very little. So there's like the faceless meme accounts, like liquidity and whatever it might be, but the overlap of people that are teaching you how to get a job in finance and are making TikToks is like non-existent. So there's not really that many options if you're trying to reach people that are actually interested in breaking into finance. So I think that's why I'm able to charge a little bit higher. Yeah, I wouldn't say I've been trying to monetize too hard yet. Another thing I'm working on too is a course. So I make a lot of videos about cold emails, and like for me, it's very intuitive, but I'm realizing that for other people, it's like a little bit intimidating. It's not that simple. So I want to make like a little course on. I'm trying to use Maven, so like a little 4 to 6 week course. Every week, have a little 1 hour, 1.5 hour meeting, talk through cold emails. But I would say right now, I'm not squeezing. I think it's one of those things where like you want the people to love you. Like you want to build trust, you want people to love you. Because I've really only been doing this for 3 months. So it's like, yeah, I have 19,000 followers, but it's only been 3 months. So it's one of those things where it's like a startup. Ideally, you monetize as far away as possible, right? So that's kind of how I'm thinking of it right now. So yeah, I'm trying to think how much money have I made from this? Not much. I'm trying to think. So on the career side, I've probably made plus or minus $6,500 over the last 3 months. I would say being in Eastern Europe definitely helps. So like it's I'm running profitably, because there's not as much cost here. But yeah, I haven't been trying to squeeze too hard on monetization. I've really only worked with like three people, and it's been kind of recurring with those three.
I'm so curious. Like, so do you do like talent placement? How do you go about pricing these talent placements for Head Start?
Yeah, so Headstart is very interesting because we get people when they're freshman or sophomore, so like their economic value at that point in time is like very little. But by getting them when they're freshman or sophomore, we are able to, I don't want to say wire their brain, but we are actually what they're gonna remember. If that makes sense. It's like if somebody tries to put me in a program, like I'm not gonna value it that much. I'm not gonna remember that much because I feel like I already know stuff. Versus if you're a blank slate, what you hear in this program is going to mean a lot. So the way we pitch ourselves from that angle is that like this is a brand building exercise for like your company. It's like if you're Goldman Sachs, like yes, everyone knows you, but if you're a boutique bank based in Connecticut, most people don't know you. In theory, you might actually have a better analyst program, but like no one cares because they never heard of you. So that's kind of how we pitch Headstart. So it's even less on like a placement standpoint. It's like more on an awareness standpoint. So you see the ROI later. So with our early sponsors, we're starting to see that now. So now the program is like 3.5 years old. So a lot of the people who joined in the first cohort, they've graduated, and a few of them are now working at these sponsor companies. So now the sponsor companies are starting to see that ROI. But yeah, I think the pitch was very much like long term oriented. Of like you get in front of these people when they are freshmen or sophomores, you build trust with these people. When it is time to recruit, you will be top of mind versus them only knowing the handful of firms that are like super buzzy.
It's like McDonald's, like have Happy Meal. Get them when they're young, so they get hooked. I mean, it's the same thing we do with Design Buddies. Actually, get them when they're young, so they're hooked for life. Uh, wait, so your sponsorships? Is it like mostly recruiting? So they pay like a retainer fee or something, and then they get like X amount of talent, or what do they? How do you go about pricing, and what do they get out of it for the companies?
Nah, it's a good question. So there's two tiers. One's like more low touch, so maybe one info session every semester and access to the resume book and email list. Then the other one is more high touch and just more white glove. I think this one is also the high touch one is interesting too because we also play the role of like consultants in a way, like HR consultants, because we have a lot of context of like what students are curious about, what are they excited about, what's going through their head because we're interacting with these students. And like a student's not going to tell an HR professional what they actually feel, but like we can. So I think that's one big part of the value. I think another big part of the value goes to like that brand building point. So if you're having, 3 sessions a semester, like by the time this person is a junior actually recruiting, like, okay, I've heard of this firm 10 times now. I've met 5 people at this firm. Like, I'm actually interested in this firm. And like, I've been able to prove that to myself as well as like now that firm has a bunch of data points on me. So that's kind of the two different things we sell. And then the lower tier, the pricing changes. Inflation is hot, but I believe the lower tiers today is around 10,000 a year. Um, So that covers like the fall cohort and the spring cohort. It's kind of one academic year. And then the higher tier is about 30,000 a year. So that covers again fall and spring semester. And yeah, it just depends on kind of your goals. So I think for larger firms who tend to want to be passive, they like the low touch tier, so they can just like show up once, get the resume book, add it to their data, their CRM, whatever it might be. And then for smaller firms who the way they're thinking about is like, okay, should we hire a recruiter or should we work with this org? They're like, okay, we're willing to pay more because we're gonna actually do more events, we're gonna get more out of it instead of having like another HR professional. Like we have the Headstart leadership team who's actually on the ground with these students. They understand what they're stressed about, they understand what they're excited about, and how we can, improve our recruiting process, etc. So I would say those are kind of the two different things we sell.
That's awesome. I'm so curious, like, what's a typical path from like a student who joins as a freshman? Like, what's their journey to like getting the job at the firm that's is at the company that sponsors you?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think the first thing we always like to say is Head Start is a platform for professional discovery. So most people that join Head Start, first generation Americans, low income students. So we don't really look at like demographics from like a racial standpoint. I think those are the demographics we care the most about. And a lot of them, they just don't know anything. So it's like complete blank slate. And then we try to help them figure out what they want to do. So we have our general education sessions. So here we'll have different panels like taking a risk, where you'll hear from like a few entrepreneurs, maybe people like literally ourselves, right? Like people that were on the normal train and we just kind of left to do other things. Or we'll have another one like choosing a city to work in. So these are all variables that like to us, like again, it's intuitive. It's like, yeah, you just like go to New York or SF, whatever it might be. But like if you don't know anything, you're like, dang, like I can actually make money. Like, what do I do with this money? So we have like financial literacy session. So we try to help you figure out what you want to do and show you all the different things you can do. And then once you do figure out what you're kind of interested in, we have like industry specific sessions. So the way we kind of bucket it right now is like business operations slash consulting. So think any job in an operating company that's not finance or tech related. Then we have like our tech vertical, which is very focused on like software engineering and product. Then we have our finance vertical, which is mainly focused on like investing in private equity, investing in banking rather. And then you'll go through the vertical sessions, and there you actually get some of like the actual hard skills to get you ready for the process. And throughout this period, like firms will be engaging, like firms will host some of these sessions, right? Like we work with Sixth Street a lot. They host a lot of our valuation sessions. So Sixth Street will teach you valuation. And then Sixth Street might also teach you how to improve your resume. So those are like two touch points you might just have in your freshman year. And it's like, I've been seeing the Sixth Street thing a lot. Sixth Street is the one that taught me how to walk through an ECF. Wait, Sixth Street's hiring interns? It kind of makes sense. So then it's like your sophomore, your junior year, and it's actual actionable for you to apply to opportunities. And we're going to get early access to some of these opportunities. We're going to put them in front of you early. And it's also two-sided, right? We also can tell Sixth Street, like, hey, out of all the students in the cohort, these 10, these are the ones that are actually interested in credit. Like they show up to the finance sessions about credit. They always have the most questions. Like, we think you should take a good look at these students. And then that's helpful for Sixth Street because a resume tells a little bit of story. But the fact that we're like, okay, this person actually cares about credit, that is like the HR screen. Like that's the top of the funnel, which is kind of why they're willing to kind of pay for the service. And then yeah, the goal is they do well in the internship, get the return offer, and then go to our partner, and then everybody's happy.
And how many people are in Head Start right now?
Yeah, so in total, there's probably 360-ish. So one thing we do is we're very much a big on like if you're either active or you're not. So every like 3 to 6 months we do a purge. So we text Slack. It's very easy to see if someone is active or not. So if you sent a message in the last 3 to 6 months, you're probably good. And if you haven't, it was a pleasure having you a part of the community. Feel free to reapply if you want to engage again. And, wish you the best of luck on your future activities. So that's kind of why the number is so little. So we always keep a very high bar because there's no point in just having like a bunch of dead accounts in the Slack. And I also think a big part of the pitch is like community. So like today, if you type something in Headstart, somebody will answer in like 5 minutes. But if it was 1,000 people and like 700 of those accounts were dead, like it would just be a dead Slack in total.
Hmm. How do you guys measure success with the people with the firm with the companies that sponsor? Is it like number of students recruited, people who show up to events, like insights about the students and how they care about like personal finance, or like what is the metric?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for every firm is different. So like for larger firms, a lot of it similar with larger like companies for like sponsorships generally is like they just want eyeballs. Like if you're a large firm, it's like oh, you can guarantee 100 people show up to the Zoom. Perfect. Like I don't need anything more because they're not doing any like special processes. They're not, doing any fast tracking, whatever it might be. Like they just have their process and they just want people to get to the top of the funnel. But for smaller firms, I think we care a lot more about like the little details, like how many students actually apply. Of the students that apply, like how many interview. Of the students that interview, how many of them actually get the offer, and then of the students that get the offer, like how many of them take the offer, and then of the students that intern, how many do well and get the return offer, and how does those convert into full time offers. So with our higher touch partners, we care a lot more about kind of the full funnel, and I think it's nice because if we're talking to HR every month, we actually get data points on like, oh, like this season they're going hard on evaluation questions in the interviews. Like, cool. Our finance vertical sessions, we only had one valuation session. Now we're gonna have three. So that's kind of how we think about that.
That's cool. What was like, do you have like a partnership you've done that's been the most rewarding, or any like partnerships that didn't go well, and what happened there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say on the most rewarding part, Sixth Street is our favorite partner. We love Sixth Street. So Sixth Street is an investment firm, based in San Francisco and New York and Austin. And Sixth Street has been great because they're a relatively small firm. So I don't know the exact number, but I think they have roughly 300-ish employees. And on the HR side, it's a team of definitely less than 10. So we're able to just add a lot more value because they actually are very constrained. And they've been, super, super engaged. We've had probably at least 2 sessions every semester with Sixth Street. We've engaged with them in like in-person events. So sometimes they'll like kind of go on tour and they'll host in-person events. And they had one in Austin, and I think like half of the group was Headstart people. We've had, the chairman of the firm speak to Headstart. We've had like, partners speak to Headstart. So that one's been really, really good. We had somebody intern there and convert to full time. I think one thing that's interesting too is like if you're a small firm, it might be worth paying 30,000 dollars to literally get two full-time employees, if that makes sense, especially in finance. Because if you're paying them like $200,000 a year, hiring a recruiter would cost you like 30,000 dollars a year. So that's kind of been a really, really good partnership there with Sixth Street. Love those folks. Then on the other side, we've worked with some firms where I think the idea of working to Head Start like sounded good to the HR team, but to the broader firm, they weren't, I guess, as sold, if that makes sense. So we'll close the partnership, but we weren't able to like actually host like any events with professionals at the firm other than HR because HR is obviously worried about getting the talent, so they're incentivized to care about Head Start. But I would say at some firms, the actual professionals aren't that worried about getting the talent. I think this is like especially true in finance. Like you're very stressed, you work a lot, so you're just worried about doing your job. So like if you're asking, if you're being asked to be on a panel, if you're being asked to like make some material for an event, like you're just gonna say no because there's just always something that's a higher priority.
I think so. I think this, like us three as personas, is super unique because I feel like we've all done very similar things, but three completely different fonts, right? So, like declassified career space, broad, more focused on media, but no real product, right? Oba with Head Start, you've got a product, right, with the fellowship, but no real huge media side of it, right? Like you're kind of building the media side from a personal brand standpoint right now. But like the initial piece of Head Start, if I remember correctly, it wasn't like you went crazy on social or anything like that to drive traffic to Head Start. And then you've got Grace, right, with Design Buddies, where hyper specific within the design niche, but instead of a small cohort, which is what you've got with Head Start, Grace has got like this more of a massive, huge Discord, literally the complete opposite of the small Slack community. And I wanted to bring that up because I think that is a testament to show that there isn't one way to win, even within the same space, right? Like we've all
100%.
done well for ourselves, even though we've done it in completely varying different scenario or different ways. And I think that's crazy with all that. Saying that, I want to dive into the beginning of Head Start because with Grace and I think it was a lot of social. Grace more on LinkedIn, me more on like short form video content. How did you find that initial cohort within Head Start? Because you're going on to like year 4 right now, and I think you're starting to understand social, but that wasn't the case at the beginning.
Yeah. Nah, it's a great question. So I mean, the founding story was basically, I mean, I grew up in a rougher part of Houston, so I didn't know that many people that were going to like good colleges. I didn't know anyone that worked in corporate America, etc. So like going into UT, I didn't really know anyone, but I did a summer camp at UT the summer before, and my camp counselor was an upperclassman, so she was kind of the person that was telling me what's orgs to apply to. She's the person that told me you have to apply to orgs, so I didn't know anything. It was also during COVID, so like I was completely lost, but she, was putting me on game. And during my sophomore winter, I did a lot of reflecting on just like the role she's had in my life. And really just the role that like one person can have in your professional journey, especially if it's like early. So then I was like, all right, I want to do something around this. So I just started, jotting some things down. Like at first, the idea for Head Start was like this giant thing with like 10 different industries. We're gonna have a pre-law track, a pre-med track, da 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 da. And then I remember one of my friends was like, "Bro, just do business and just like that's it." And I was like, "Damn, that's a good point. Okay, we'll just do business." And then I was like, "All right, we'll just do business." And I'm like, "Cool." And I already had like I had like a little bit of like a following just from like viral LinkedIn posts, but they were just like job announcements. So they were like, getting like my freshman and sophomore internship. So nothing crazy, but maybe I had like 4 or 5 thousand followers on LinkedIn. And then I remember I like posted an announcement just like with what the idea of Head Start was. And it got a lot of engagement. Like I don't remember exactly, but like more than 300 likes on LinkedIn. And I'm like, whoa, like that's actually a lot of people. So then I'm like, okay, we actually have to like make this thing now. So it was thankfully it was doing during break. So like I had time and I begged a lot of my friends because they also had time. And then we're thinking like, okay, what do we do? Like, what is this thing actually? And then we made another post. It was like info session. Then we had like maybe 100 people sign up. I'm like, whoa, like we actually have to build this thing now. Like if not, we're gonna disappoint like ourselves and like 100 other people. And then we prepped the deck for the info session. The deck was all vapor because we had no org, but we had to sell something. And then after the info session, it's like logically, right? You need applications. And then we're like, all right, we gotta have applications too now. So then like a week later, we opened applications and I'm trying to think about how many apps we got. It wasn't anything crazy, but maybe like 150 applications. And for us, that was crazy because like but now we have people that want to be fellows, and we told them this narrative they're gonna get a mentor. We had no mentors. So then it was like I had to go on LinkedIn, and I wish there was a way to like see how many LinkedIn messages I sent at like certain point in time. But I remember I was getting rate limited. Like LinkedIn stopped letting me send messages, and I didn't know that was possible. And I think I had LinkedIn like premium free trial at the time. But yeah, like it was during holiday. I like a lot of my friends today are people I just randomly messaged on LinkedIn at that time. But literally anyone I saw that was like person of color or like did anything nonprofit related, working in business, whatever, whatever. Like I'm sliding in their DM with the same pitch, like, "Hey, I had this idea. I can see if I can find this pitch because it shouldn't be too hard." But like, "Hey, I had this idea. We're trying to help people do da 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 da. We actually need some mentors. Would be super, grateful to chat with you for like 15 minutes just to, share a little bit more. And if you're interested, da 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 da." I'm about to pull up the pitch right now. One of my friends that I know the way I met him was I sent him a cold message on LinkedIn. Let's see. Okay, hey Armel, I'm working on building a mentorship program for underrepresented students. If you're interested, please let me know. I would love to find some time to chat. So this is like uh 20 it says September 2021. So yeah, this is so I guess the cold outreach started early, with begging people to get involved. But it really picked up once we actually had info session and applications because we actually needed people to be a part of this. And yeah, I think it's one of those things that you're just surprised by what you can do when you have no choice in a way. So like I wasn't gonna disappoint myself and all the people that applied and all my friends that I begged to be a part of it. So it's kind of like do or die in a way. It's like the mentorship program has to like happen or I'm gonna die basically. So the mentorship program kind of came about. And then I guess from a distribution standpoint, so yeah, Headstart never had like that big of a good social strategy. But I think one thing was that we were creative. So like we used to be in like subreddits, So like people ask a question about like recruiting, like we'll just drop a little comment in there, pretend like we're, not like it's not someone from Headstart, but like, yeah, I heard of this thing, like it's like this new program, da 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 da. Like I heard they help you get a job. So that was like one thing we used to do. So we used to call it like non-LinkedIn marketing. Like that was the most important thing. But we weren't even thinking of like content in the traditional way. We were thinking just like doing one-off things. Another thing was we just asked creators if they were willing to make videos. So like one of my friends, Armel, I think he had like 15K on TikTok, and he's more focused on like tech niche stuff. So he would make like tech videos and CS videos, and he made a video which was super helpful early on. And yeah, we would just like ask creators who were in this space, and generally speaking, half of the time they'd say yes with like no strings attached. So that was like the initial strategy. But yeah, I think now we're trying to actually get on content. So on TikTok and on Instagram, we've been posting like a little bit of short form. On LinkedIn, I think we just hit 10,000 followers. So like now, the snowball is rolling down the hill. So there's momentum naturally. But yeah, looking back, we probably should have been making TikToks like 4 years ago. I think we made one in the first 2 years of the org. So uh,
Shout out Armel. Armel's a mutual friend between both of us. He seems to be killing it out in SF.
Yeah, I'm also curious. Like a lot of it seems like cold messaging, and you have an upcoming course on Maven about cold messaging. What is like your approach to cold messaging? For example, if you want to approach like a sponsor for, or like a client, or like a firm that wants to sponsor you, I
yeah.
or like how do you go about cold messaging in general? I also saw an article in your newsletter how you cold message people just because you like their product, and like what is your thinking behind cold messaging, and how do you like leverage it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me, like I've always been a curious person, and I grew up very much removed from like the corporate environment. So like to me, I don't think about like like the corporate norms, whatever, whatever. Like to me, there's no what you're supposed to do. So it's like first principles. So for me, it was like, okay, if I think this thing is cool, why would I not reach out to someone that works on this thing? So that's just like the way my brain was wired, and I honestly is still wired to this day. So yeah, like for example, athletic greens, which was what was mentioned in the newsletter. I was using athletic greens my sophomore year, junior year of college. But yeah, this thing is cool. Seems like a real business. Like I have a lot of employees on LinkedIn. Let me reach out to some of them. So I think I reached out to 20 people. The only person that responded today, he's the CFO of Athletic Greens. And like we've met in person, like I have his number, and like that's my guy, Sam. And it's just like you just never understand what one message can do to you. And then I guess from an approach standpoint, I think when you're genuine, like, the approach is just natural. So I think this is in the case of more, like, personal networking rather than, on the, like, trying to get a partner side. But, like, my message, I literally said, like, I use athletic greens, like, my family had a past of, like, illnesses and, wanna leave that in the past. Would love to, like, just, chat and learn more about how you ended up at Athletic Greens and what you guys have on, like, the product roadmap. And it was, like, very short and basic, but it's like there's a little bit of an emotional appeal. There's like a little bit of storytelling, and it gives them a reason to like want to talk to me. It's like, okay, worst case scenario, this is like a customer interview, and best case scenario, like it could be more. So I think my approach to networking is just like following my curiosity, and then as far as like cold emailing, like tactically for like let's say you want to get a brand deal, I think honestly the most important thing is just like finding out the who. So like who is the right person. So for me, I try to do like a lot of outside in on okay, who actually has the budget. I think it's like Head Start is a perfect example of initially we thought the who was the HR team of like, okay, HR is responsible for recruiting, so they're the person we should email. And then we realized pretty quickly that if you work at a private equity firm, the person that's gonna approve any decision of any amount over like $3,000 is gonna be one of the private equity partners. So it's like instead of emailing HR, who in theory is your customer, like they're not the buyer. The buyer is like private equity partner. So you need to like figure out some narrative to the private equity partner of like, hey, like right now your HR team is two. Like I know the firm's scaling. I know you guys might be thinking about making it three, but we actually have this organization where we have, over 300 students from across 70 universities. And we've actually worked with firm A, B, and C who are, also similar. And we've actually been able to place X number of people at these firms, and our interviews to offer rate is this percentage. We think it might be worthwhile to just have a quick conversation on how Headstart can help you guys from a talent standpoint. And then they're usually like, like okay, this seems a little bit different, and like you're speaking their language. They're like, okay, we're probably thinking about hiring another HR professional. Oh, maybe we don't have to. Let's actually see what this is. So I think it's like finding the right person. So like finding the buyer and then speaking their language and speaking whatever is their incentive at that given time.
That's amazing. I think a lot of people don't even get to step one when it comes to cold outreach, right? Of just like pressing send. But what you just said in terms of positioning, wording, storytelling, even, right? Everything like that, I think that's not even level two, right? That's like level 3, 4, 5. So that was a great masterclass. Grace and I think, are going to take some of that and start plugging it into our pitches for the pod, because we're trying to find our like sort of founding sponsor for this. But I know that I have to run soon. Is there a question that you wish more people asked about you?
Oh wow, that's a good question. Um, that's a good question. I guess maybe like what's my why? So I think a common thread in a lot of the things I do is it's helping people in some way. So except the rage bait, I guess, excluding the rage bait, but the career content at Start, the like LinkedIn share resources. And I think for me to answer is like I grew up in Nigeria. I spent the first half of my childhood there, and like I almost died a few times. And the only reason I'm here today is like my community. They all came together. It's like sacrifice things for me, whether it's like donating blood, financially, whatever it might, or giving like money or whatever it might be. It's like I don't know. For me, I feel like I have an inherent responsibility to like uplift others, which is kind of why I like content because I think Headstart was cool for chapter one because Headstart can do more than I'll ever be able to do as like one human. Communities can scale decently well, and then content can scale better than a community can. And then it's like if you're trying to really impact millions, tens of millions of people, like you need to build some type of company, some type of entity. So I think that that's the question I wish people ask me more, and why like I feel like this chronological order of like Head Start to content, it's like eventually a company, makes a ton of sense for my goals.
Man, that's amazing. I feel like there's a whole nother pod just talking about what you just talked about right there. But I gotta jump. Grace, feel free to stay on, and you guys can keep going. But I appreciate you, Oba. We'll talk soon.
Take care, Dustin.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I'm so curious. Like, what is the journey next for you? It's like you're going to India, you're gonna make more rage bait content. You want to build a company. You also like we're also trying to squeeze a a startup because I literally done the same exact thing in December 2023. Me and some friends decided to do a startup and also submit to
Yeah.
YC like during like May 2024, and then I went on a 6-month world tour after that. And just made videos too. So what does that path next to you look like to you about like making a startup or making a company and stuff?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think my biggest learning about making a company as far as like don't brute force it. So I think that's gonna be the common thread is like just don't brute force it. So I think by traveling, naturally you get a lot of startup ideas because you're like again a fish out of water. Like everything is new. So a lot of concepts in America that are popular today, like they're just things that people were doing in Asia 20 years ago. Or like maybe food like boba, right? People probably been having boba in Asia for the last 100 years. And now like boba is the hottest thing in America, for example. So I think that's one thing is like not brute forcing it. So like there's a lot of ideas I get from just random side quests. Like I think one of the more recent ones is creators as like a PR piece for government and like how you can like build software to help enable that. So like if I'm Romania or some random country that's not like I don't know Spain, Portugal, France, like not a country that not everyone is going to, not everyone's even aware of. Creators are actually a very unique tool to have in your arsenal. And like right now, you probably have your Department of Tourism who just has like some random page on TikTok that no one watches. But like, what if there was software that helps connect you with creators and actually helps increase tourism for your country, whatever it might be? So that's like an idea that I just had literally yesterday when I was with the head senator of Romania, because I'm like, why am I here? And I'm like, wait, he understands that if I'm going on the internet and I'm saying stuff, like people are gonna watch it and, like, literally what I say might affect if someone decides to come to Romania or not, which is, like, insane to even think about. And I'm just like, "Wait, that's an interesting startup idea." So I think that is, like, my mentality right now is just don't brute force it. So like that idea, I'm gonna research, I'm gonna think through it, I'm gonna, draw a little bit, see what that could actually look like. And if I get like super excited after the wedding in India, so that's like in 3 weeks, I just go home and I just, get to work. But I think until I find something where I'm like, all right, this is it, like I have to make this happen, I'm just gonna kind of keep roaming. I will say, you know, you get some fatigue from traveling. Like I'm a little bit tired because I've been solo traveling for like plus or minus 6 7 weeks now. So it's not that long, but it's a long time without my mom, my family, just like Chick-fil-A, just like things I'm used to. Just normal things that are part of my day to day. So I would say, in short, I'm gonna be traveling probably until September-ish, but I'm not gonna brute force the startup idea. I think I want something to come, and like when it comes, like I'll know that this is it. But yeah, I'm not brute forcing it. But every day, I do feel like I'm working towards it, whether it's like through the education content or through the travel content. I feel like I've learned so much. Like I never had a newsletter before, and now I'm using Beehive, and I'm like, okay, like if I try to send an email to 500 people from my Gmail, it's actually gonna get me in big trouble. Which is kind of why this whole newsletter started, because I was doing this like resource LinkedIn post, and I'm like, wait, how can I send this thing to 500 people? Then I tried, and then Gmail froze my account. And I'm like, okay, so this is why newsletters exist. So I think I'm learning a lot just because I'm doing things, I guess. I'm running around a lot of different directions and just trying things.
Yeah, I love that, not brute forcing a startup because, like, I had a lot of people try to brute force a startup to me, and it felt
Yeah.
very awkward and
Yeah.
interesting.
It's just,
But I'm so curious, like, you have 7,000 subscribers on your newsletter. Did they all come from LinkedIn? I've also like stalked your LinkedIn. I noticed you start with like hook. Like I found did you like test different hooks or like what is your newsletter
y-
growth strategy?
yeah. So my newsletter is 5 weeks old, so definitely still early, but I've experimented with a few different things. Like one is like a real LinkedIn post that's like, thoughtful, kind of like yours about like why you invested in Figma, right? Like it's thoughtful, there's actually value, there's like content. And it just never hits as much as like a comment farm. Like it's just unfortunate, but that's like the LinkedIn algorithm today is like if you can get people to comment, you will reach a lot of people. And if you can't, you might reach people, but you just won't reach that many people. It's like I had a LinkedIn post I posted yesterday. It did decently well. I think it has like 100 or 200 likes, which is like on LinkedIn is pretty solid, but it only has like 10,000 impressions versus some of my like comment farms have like 150,000 impressions. So it's just like if you can get people to comment, it just pushes it so much harder. And as far as that specific one, so I experimented a little bit, but not really. But that was like the second one I tried. And I tried it back to back, and the first one got like 1,500 comments, and then the second one got like 1,000 comments. So I was like, all right, I'm not changing it. So I think it's like the post needs to be short enough to where people can actually read it. Like long LinkedIn posts have value, but no one's gonna read it. And then two is like it just needs to feel like FOMO. Like they need to feel a sense of FOMO of like, oh wow, like there's this YouTube thing out that I'm not aware of, or there's this recipe I really, really need. Because I think people have a little bit of pride in like commenting on LinkedIn because it doesn't like your friends will see it or whatever. So it's not something people want to do, but if you give them a good reason to, they're like, all right, I'll do it, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so curious, like kind of zooming back into time where you were applying for YC. So it's like a B2B
Yeah.
SaaS, like financial, like a CFO for a company, like an AI agentic
Yeah,
CFO.
yeah, yeah.
Like, how did you get there? And like, are your co-founders still working on it, or like, where's that idea at now?
Yeah, so we had a long journey. So it started when I was still working. So it started in like December, and we went through a lot of different ideas. We had two ideas that really stuck, and one of them was AI Copilot for executive assistants. So I think a lot of what people are building today is software to replace executive assistants, but we think that certain industries will never replace executive assistants. So like finance, law, just even like corporate, like executives want to feel special. They want to have an EA, and EAs like they're the vibe carriers, the culture carriers, oftentimes in firms. So we thought that EAs aren't going anywhere. So we talked to a bunch of EAs and people that have EAs and wanted to build software for EAs. And I think what we realized there that was really hard was the buyer user mismatch. It's like the user being the EA, so they can love the product, but you need to somehow convince the buyer that it's worth them spending, 5 10,000 bucks a year on software for their EA, which is like something that doesn't exist today. Like there is not really software for EAs. They just use like normal stuff like Excel, Sheets, whatever. So that was kind of what killed that idea. And then the AI CFO idea came about because one of my co-founders, her mom started a food truck, and she didn't know that much about like finance, but she knew how to make food. And then we realized pretty quickly that if you talk to like 20 small business owners, maybe three of them actually know anything about like taxes, business, and like law stuff. Most of them just know whatever their thing is. So if it's a restaurant, they know food. If it's like a barbershop, they know haircuts. But most of them don't know anything else. So we're like, what if you just built something that plugs into all their data points? So think like their bank account, their credit cards, their loan book, their point of sale system. It just gives them proactive suggestions. So like, hey, you're using this debit card instead, and every time you spend, you're not getting any cash back. Last month you spent $2,000. If you use this credit card, you would actually got 2% cash back, which is $40 a month. And it's just like he's giving them little savings here and there. So like, hey, you have this loan, interest rates actually dropped. You could refinance this loan and actually be saving X number of dollars every month on interest. So kind of an AI CFO. In short, it's just like it's really just a wrapper on a lot of the existing sort of LLMs, but the core thing is like data, right? Like right now, a small business would have to manually upload all these data points into ChatGPT, maybe a project or whatever it might be, and then ChatGPT is probably a lot of data to even handle for like ChatGPT, but ChatGPT in theory can go through the data, go on the web, and try to find and give some recommendations. But we thought the proactive recommendations approach could be really good. Um, I think we had another like so there's three of us initially. The third guy, one I was like the seller. The other co-founder was the designer, and then the other co-founder was the engineer. And the engineer, he's an international student, so his situation is a little bit complicated. So he just didn't want to like risk, I guess in short, getting deported. So he was like, I think I'm gonna just do my big boy job just so I don't get deported, which is like very much a fair excuse. So I think that broke our team a little bit because like they had, a seller and a designer, but like someone actually has to kind of build the thing. So it was a little bit unfortunate. Yeah, that's kind of what broke up the gang. But I do think if we got into like YC or whatnot, that might have changed his psychology a little bit, as oftentimes YC is like a shiny star that just proves at least some point of validation. I know they do have some resources to help you with like getting your sponsorship stuff figured out, but yeah, he wasn't trying to risk it, which I understand.
Yeah, I feel like with visas, like international students have it kind of rough because
Yeah,
they have to have a job within X amount of days, otherwise they get deported.
exactly.
And yeah, I also got rejected from YC. Did you apply for like the summer batch or which batch?
Uh, I think this was yeah, this was summer exactly. It was summer batch we
Oh,
applied
okay,
for.
same thing. Height twinning. We're twinning being rejected from that batch too.
Yeah, I do think as like we build out our brands and stuff though, like I think they will soon start liking creators a lot, especially if you're building like something consumery, because I mean you've seen it now like post Cluely, like every software
Mm-hmm.
company is like a creator, a content company in a way. So I do
Yep.
think like yeah, as we continue to grow as creators, like I don't know, if I had 100K on TikTok and I applied to YC with like an idea that made sense given the context of like my content. I think they would be quite excited.
Oh yeah, because I remember like last time I almost got interviewed. They didn't have bandwidth, but I flexed the numbers more, and then they see it seemed to go further in the application. But I feel like YC has. I feel like YC in the past has kind of like really favored like B2B SaaS AI
Yeah,
companies. And I feel like that might be changing. I don't know. I talked to so many friends who are like really, really deep into the YC world. And there's like
yeah,
so many ways, like every question is a way to flex and they kind of expect you to answer a different way. It's like the freaking like college admission essays. They kind of expect you to do
exactly.
it your way and stuff. But it's interesting. I hope we both get into YC. I literally just like applied with an idea 2 days old yesterday, actually.
Oh wow, good
So
luck.
we'll see. We'll see. It is so my boyfriend, he like had this idea. TLDR is I was having a little existential crisis because I grew my following and grew design buddies from posting a lot of LinkedIn content over the years.
Yeah,
And I just feel like I've been out of a job for a year and a half now. I don't no longer work in big tech, no longer relatable for designers. I don't feel like it's like true to me to post about how to get a job in design. And I kind of like wanted to pivot away from something else low key. So we're having an idea of like a credit card for designers. So I don't know, or potentially B2B SaaS, because like for agencies who spend a lot of money hiring designer and offering some like perks and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But there's plenty of startup. I know the startup idea I have is like an AI design recruiting agent, which automates like portfolio search, because that's like the challenge a lot of recruiters have for design is like automating top of funnel. But yeah, hopefully you get into YC as well.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
for me, my time is not now. I think
Uh-huh.
I'm definitely trying to take it slow, find the right crew, and then find the right idea. But I mean, I think you're deep in the design world, so I think you would understand their pain points. Like even if it's not a financial pain point, I think you would understand their pain point way more than other people. And like you have a community of designers, so I think like that makes a ton of sense for you. Like from a go to market standpoint, like you have the Discord, you can get your first 500 customers from your own Discord, which is
Hmm.
a huge advantage.
Yeah, building a cult. I mean, my community a cult.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. Where do you hope to be on 1 year from now?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the common thread is like impact at scale. So either my career and just personal finance content has grown to a point where, I'm impacting, hundreds of thousands of people rather than, maybe tens of thousands. Um, I think I think the highest likelihood is I'm working on a company by then. I think I would have found hopefully the right idea and the right group of people. And we're going to lock ourselves in the basement in SF maybe. Or maybe in Romania. Maybe I'm here to bring Romanian entrepreneurship back, but lock ourselves in a basement somewhere and just grind. But I do think I feel a lot of purpose in just like work and impact. So yeah, sometimes like being away, I do feel bored and like I might be in a different country and I'm just in my apartment all day working. So it's not all sunflowers and rainbows and beaches, but I would say that's the main thing is like impact at a larger scale, whether it's through content and hopefully having more conviction in what direction to build a company in.
I love that. Yeah, I also kind of got bored when I was traveling too. I was away for
Yeah.
6 months last
Wow.
year, and I'm just like, I had to like, I locked in a lot afterwards, but now I'm like, I should go on another world tour. But at the same time, I don't think I could travel for 6 months anymore. It was a long
Yeah,
time.
I
I went
I
to
definitely
21
will not.
countries.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, I definitely will not be traveling for 6 months. I will be back home before the end of the year for sure.
Wait, where's home for you?
Houston, Texas.
Oh, cool. Yeehaw.
That's
I
crazy.
started saying yeehaw when I was in Texas.
Yeah, no, you have a lot of vocabulary words that I'm learning from the podcast. So,
Yaw, yeehaw. I'm not even from Texas. I just worked with a lot of people from Texas. So I started picking up their lingo.
no, we don't say yeehaw. I don't think that's a normal Texas conversation
I don't think
vocabulary.
so either.
Yeah, just you.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being on. I really appreciate your time today. I really enjoyed our episode. We dived into like rage bait content or professional content, startups, and all in between. Where can our buddies find you?
Yeah, so on TikTok, I'm at Oba Tried, so Obatried. On Instagram, same, Oba Tried. And then on LinkedIn, I am at my name, so it's Obafemi, last name Ajayyi, and you can see me on LinkedIn. And yeah, if you want the rage bait stuff, TikTok's the place. If you want productive stuff, Instagram's the place. Oh, also I have a travel Instagram I forgot about. It's oba.travels, so oba.travels. And yeah, you can see all my adventures there.
Awesome. That was great. W's in the chat.